Oh dear. I gave my baby a squeaky toy, so we'll see how this goes today. I'm Red, and today I'm going to be reading some r/ProRevenge. Okay, let's get going with those ProRevenge stories. Ruined a crap housemate's life. So, I moved into a 4-bedroom uni house. I knew 2 of my housemates. Let's call them Abby and Ben. Due to unfortunate circumstances, our previously planned housemate didn't live with us, so we found a new one, Chloe. Chloe is a horrible housemate. This becomes apparent when they never paid any bills or rent on time, smoke like a chimney inside, against our agreement, leaves home for a few days leaving a big pile of washing up for us to do, including our pots and pans, scream gaming on their laptop all the way till 5 a.m. Walls are thin. Just to name a few things. Basically, they suck. So it gets till about 4 months in. We cannot stand Chloe. So have a house meeting. Basically, we sit there and try and explain how we would prefer they don't scream at their laptop, I assume gaming, until 5 a.m. every night, as all of us get up early. Everything we bring up, Chloe denied it. We have each lent Chloe a month's rent and bills too, and Chloe hasn't paid any of us back, over $1,000 between us. Chloe denied it, saying, "I don't owe you." At this point, me, Abby and Ben are all pretty pissed. Then, a few weeks later was a Saturday night, and being students, Abby and Ben and me invited friends around for pre-drinks. We asked Chloe first. They said they would be out, so that's fine. Turns out they finished work early, so they came home and were shocked to find people there. Went up to their room. They kept coming down and turning the music down. It wasn't even loud in the first place. Chloe got so angry and threw my speaker out the window. I didn't see Chloe do it, but loads of people told me so. I'd had enough and I went to get my speaker. Chloe came with me to my surprise. As Chloe left, in full visibility of me, keyed my car parked on the driveway. I got up with my speaker and shouted as she walked off. Luckily, we have an automatic light on the side of the house and a car was driving down my road at the time and the driver said they had a dash cam and probably caught it. I stopped shouting in disbelief and gave him my email address. Went about my night enjoying the party. When it was time to leave, a lot of us hadn't finished our alcohol, so left it on the kitchen table and left. When we got back the next day and had sobered up in the morning, we found all the alcohol had been taken, along with the speaker, some headphones, and my laptop. Now I was really pissed. The revenge. I logged into my housemate's laptop on my email. This guy had pulled through and sent me a small clip of Chloe keying the car, along with several close-up stills showing the key in contact. I first confronted Chloe, asking if they knew where my stuff was, while Abby and Ben secretly recorded on their phones. Things got heated and they looked like they were going to fight me. I'm a big guy, 6'4", and I'm really not scared. I'm basically just pissing Chloe off. Chloe swung her fists at me a few times, making contact. I didn't fight back. I put my hands and arms over my head and face. Chloe then stomps off, thinking they'd won. Let me remind you, Abby and Ben were recording. I called the police. They show up. I basically say I have good reason to believe Chloe stole my alcohol and other possessions. They go up and knock on Chloe's door. Go away! They can't go in without a search warrant. I file a report about assault and the things stolen relating the two. The police are very nice and basically tell me how to fill it in. They come back the next day with a warrant for Chloe's arrest for assault and battery. They then search her room and find all the stolen alcohol bottles, my headphones, which were clearly mine as they only paired with my phone, and my laptop and damaged speaker. I sued Chloe, and won. I had indisputable evidence along with witnesses for all the events. I got approximately $3,000 for the car, speaker, and rent Chloe owed us, and an additional $5,000. Chloe went to prison for resisting arrest, assaulting a police officer, assault, destruction of property, theft, and battery. Chloe still had to pay rent for her room, which we used as a gym. I mean, I've had some less than stellar housemates in my time, but nothing this bad. Okay, here is our next story. Relatives lose everything because they were too stupid to keep their mouths shut. A bit of context here. I work as a lawyer for an excellent and famous law firm here in northern Italy. My family went through some tough times, and in the last 9 years we had to face a brutal divorce with my dad having depleted every single cent he could. One of my aunts was brutally murdered because of a €150 cautionary deposit. My granddad was diagnosed with cancer and some other funny stuff in the middle. Because of that, our bonds became stronger and stronger. I must say that with my family, I mean my mother, her parents, and my 2 aunts. This year, COVID-19 managed to take away both my aunts. I loved them to the moon and back, but one of them was married to a complete douchebag. He always considered himself to be better and smarter than anyone else, and so were his relatives. My aunt and her husband, I straight up refuse to call him my uncle, lived in a huge house, and so did his brother with his wife and son. He died around 7-8 years ago and left almost everything he could just to his brother and his family, completely ignoring my family because OP's granddad is already rich. Why should I leave anything to his daughter and grandson? Basically. This year my aunt was taken by COVID. I was grieving since I really loved her and cared about her, and I already lost another aunt prior. When the notary called us to read the will, both me and my mother came out completely astonished. She left us just a few things, even though she always said she would have left us basically everything. I don't need the money involved that much, as I already inherited from my other aunt, and my job pays me really well. But my mum always had to struggle financially speaking. It would have been a huge help since she doesn't want anything from me. I tried to give her some money in the past, but she always sent them back, being stubborn as she can be. As we walked out, I pulled my cousin by my side to ask him just one thing. Hey, cousin, listen, I know it's a dumb question, but when I last saw her, I brought my aunt a little ceramic bell shaped as a lady. She held it to her chest all the time. I'd like to have it back. It would be a memory of her. He smiled at me as if I was the most stupid person on earth. Yeah, sure, whatever. I don't know what I could do with that stupid bell. Take it. But don't expect us to give you anything more. We had to sweat bullets for this will to work. I'm sorry, what do you mean? He realized he screwed up, so he just left. My mum went back home and I headed back to my office to take a closer look at my aunt's will. It was bulletproof, and the handwriting was, without a doubt, my aunt's. So, what the heck did he mean? It took me several weeks to finally get the clue. As previously mentioned by my husband, it was just this small phrase. My aunt's husband died 7 years before, so how the hell could he mention anything? Since zombies are still nowhere to be seen, and I don't know of any deceased person talking from his grave, I started to scan the whole will once again. Things I never noticed became as clear as the sun. There were missing pages. My aunt numbered them, but the second and fourth pages were missing, with sentences left hanging there. Some of the corrections were legit, but looking closely, there were a few of them where the uncertain hand of an 81-year-old lady suddenly became stronger and more precise. My aunt's husband was mentioned every time my aunt was talking about money and valuables. She did say something about the savings, but apparently her tithes that were to be given to charity didn't need her approval. Strange, huh? When I talked to my mum and her parents about this, my granddad, who is 74 and still has more strength and lucidity than your average 40-year-old dude, mentioned my aunt's husband's will. We don't know what he said. His family never even let us take a look at it, and it wasn't worth it to sue them. I went back to the notary the next day asking to see the will. Since I was a relative, he let me, but asked what was going on. I simply said, "You'll know soon enough." When I read it, I started laughing so hard that even the secretary came to see what the heck was going on. I rushed back to my office and started to write everything down. Stuff was about to hit the fan. But not for my family. After a few days, me, my mum, her parents, and my aunt's relatives met once again in front of the notary. I already told him what was happening. I could see him trying not to look disgusted as my aunt's husband's beloved ones walked in. Notary. We're all here. Apparently OP has some things to discuss with us concerning inheritances. You could hear a pin drop a mile away. I stood up and opened my bag. My family was smiling. My relatives were staring daggers from their eyes. Me. As we all know, Auntie left everything to you. Nothing is wrong here, as she didn't have any direct relationship with anyone in this room. What is wrong is the reason behind it. I handed a copy of the will to everyone, with some parts being highlighted. As you can see, pages are missing. Some corrections are different, to say the least. But most importantly, my uncle is cited quite often. This led me to his will. At this point, my relatives turned whiter than snow. My cousin tried to stop me, telling me I couldn't possibly use my uncle's will as more than 5 years passed. The notary told him that I totally could, as the allowance to contest a will is 10 years. He left to my aunt everything he had, if she would have left it to you as she died. You see, in our state it's not legal to make such a kind of contract. So, I want to let you know that you just lost all your rights on my uncle's will, and you are all to be sued for false declaration in public deed and attempted fraud. They started screeching and screaming, calling me names and wishing me into an obliviously pleasant and late death. All because one of them wasn't clever enough to shut his mouth. Now they lost everything they had, since their farm, their money, their house, and their cars were all my uncle's. They have been forced to leave the house they were living in. All their bank accounts have been blocked, and even their farm had to be closed, since it was also my uncle's previous activity. Since the correction they made were actually very precise, and some items, jewelry, ingots, cash, are now mysteriously missing, they even have to pay for an equal value. They had a little empire, but managed to lose everything over greed and stupidity. Ladies and gentlemen, please listen to me. If you want to screw with someone, at least have the courtesy of not doing it with a lawyer. Those were some great r/ProRevenge stories. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, please give the video a like, and please subscribe to Read by Red so you can hear more of my stories as I release them. And that's every day, just in case you didn't know, okay? Thank you so much for watching today.